People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, in my opinion, of course, I don't know anyone connected with Tyrese, John-Jules Balogun, or Eddie Nketiah. But as a fan, it's a nice conundrum to have, people, in my opinion. You've got three young players. Obviously, it's tough to break through, especially as a striker at any club, because even these lot could be the best thing since sliced bread. We need to remember young players need time to adapt. As much as I like Tyrese, Balogun, and obviously Eddie Nketiah, they need to. I-class being a professional footballer is 100 games. That allows them to go through the trials and tribulations, good games, bad games, away games, out of position, different. You get the point in it. That's where they have enough experience where you can really look at them. It's even a struggle to get 10 games. You frequently hear me people say 10 games because these young players are young players. You've got to look through the lens. I love young players, so I always kind of gas them to high heavens. But 10 games, you don't know what you're going to get from any of these players. It's tough to get experience without being given the chance to get experience. But people need to have the IQ to realise these are young players. They're going to be up, they're going to be down. If you slapped all three of them in, I'm sure there's games, even seeing it to a degree in the chances that Eddie gets. Games they're on fire, games they're anonymous, games they're so-so. And that happens to anyone. Consistency is never really spoken about in football, but it is very competency and consistency are very underrated aspects. If you're not competent in any role, you'll never be a good footballer. And if you're not consistent, you can't play to a top level. And if you're not that extra consistent, you see it. As much as we love Messi, Ronaldo, two extreme examples, of course, the fundamental common, as much as they're so different, but the common similarity between the two and the thing that's not spoken about for all their technical ability, their clutch moments and the memories they've given us, consistency. They need to be given a chance. From a fan's point of view, it's obviously fantastic. Three young players, all been capped by England at youth levels, all, whatever way you put it, know how to score goals, all got similarities but differences that make them all good. Whether that means profit for the club or just leaving the club's academy in limelight or progressing to first team, it's a good issue to have. It's always tough, people. It's tough, like I was alluding to. It's tough because if Lacazette and Aubameyang left tomorrow, as much as people claim to like these three players, people would turn up their eyes around, oh, you're going to start John-Jules through the middle. How can you play Nketiah and Balogun instead of them two players? They were top-class strikers, experienced individuals, goal-scoring. How can you lead the line with that? If any three of these young players got thrown in, and to be honest, you can ask questions. People would ask how we're going to be competitive, how they're going to replace the goals. And to be fair, it would be an unhealthy amount of pressure on the young players' shoulders. But these are the sort of things they've got to rely on to kind of get a look in within the team. If you was to currently ask me the pecking order in regards to Arsenal strikers, it would probably be, give or take, Lacazette and Aubameyang, Danny Welbs. We know Welbs is leaving / injured, but Welbs, third choice. Probably be Eddie Nketiah on the basis of how much he travelled with the first team and whatnot. Then it'd probably be John-Jules. Obviously the Europa League, flown out with Dubai, making inroads. And next season, I'd be surprised if he doesn't sign a new deal, doesn't go away in pre-season and probably feature in the Emirates Cup. After Tyrese, you've obviously got Balogun, in my opinion, because obviously Eddie Nketiah is the one flying about and is probably the one that starts at under-23s. Tyrese, John-Jules been playing a lot at under-23s and excelling there. You've got Balogun who's scoring goals for the under-18s and is getting minutes off the bench for the 23s. Then you've obviously got Greenwood. Greenwood's a special one because he can play in a couple of roles. As can they all can, to be fair, especially Tyrese. They can all play in a couple positions, but it'd probably be Greenwood last. So you can see there's a lot of competition. Now, Aubameyang and Lacazette, they're getting on a bit, especially Aubameyang. So within the next season and two, season and a half, you're probably going to be looking at him as, not to move him on, but question mark sort of thing. So maybe there could be a case of a loan spell, going out and coming back. There's still a lot of time. I do think players need to be patiently impatient. You need to not be patient in situations that aren't coming, but fans need to have patience with footballers. Like, not everybody can play. Unai Emery has a lot to deal with. And if all of these players got thrown in, many fans that are calling for it would ask how you're not winning titles without understanding anything I've actually said in this. So it's going to be a good... I think the club have a decisive summer, man. And all three... I wouldn't say all three have a decisive summer. None of them do. But it's decisive in that. How does the club manage them playing football? If I'm honest with you, if we're honest about under-23 football, in an ideal world to really rise their development or rise their development quicker, that English is poor, but none of them would be playing 23 football because Eddie's bossing it week in, week out. The 23s do quite well. John-Jules knows how to score goals. When Balogun sets in and gets comfortable at that level and gets chances, he will score goals. Eddie's scoring week in, week out. That team collectively bullying teams week in, week out, not necessarily going to improve. Immediately, if you was to see Eddie Nketiah against Blackpool, for example, where he missed chances, immediately you would see that. So it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough because all three, you can't imagine all three would get the same amount of game time or ample game time to accelerate their development. We'll start with Eddie as well. Well, I've said a lot, but we'll start with Eddie's case. Eddie's is a difficult one in that he signed a new deal. He's part of the first team. He's so close, but he's so far at the same time. He's travelling, he's training, and all of these things. But realistically, at least for this season, Unai Emery's not considering starting him in matches. And if he is, forgive me, and I'd love to see it, but he's not considered a genuine option. He's squad depth, especially with Welbs obviously being injured. So that's a good conundrum for Unai Emery. He's managed to in-house fix the body that Welbs might have left, and Eddie knows how to score goals. There's a hope that if when thrown in, he will do his thing. He hasn't had many opportunities because of that. Aubameyang, Lacazette and the rest have been playing. You've seen Eddie frequently on the bench but rarely come on. I know he came on against Spurs in the Nketiah Balogun, literally got a minute, forgive me if I'm wrong, against Manchester United. Started against Blackpool, but it's not really enough to develop. At the same time, the manager can only give you chances when he feels you're ready. And I'm not criticising Emery by any chance because it's a difficult task this season to give players chances. But also at the same time, we don't know what Eddie is showing or not showing in training to get a chance. In an ideal world, Eddie would have went on loan in January and would have probably got some professional games under his belt or a series of them. We need him to play against grown men, people physically stronger than him, people faster than him, some centre halves that will drop off, some that are aggressive, because this will make him think better. This will make him adapt better. And obviously, that's just me talking about on the field. He has to deal with, obviously, people not going to care that he's Eddie Nketiah, a young player with potential. People or the loan club he goes to, their fans are just going to see a player, a striker. They need goals. Striker, you're going to score goals. And if not, question marks. He's going to go through, I don't want it, but to grow, you need to go through the good patch of form where everything you touch is a goal, which he does at under 23s. You need to go through the times where, similar to Salah to a degree, where no matter how hard you try or whatever, it's just not going in, because these are the psychological sort of things. So it's a tough decision for Eddie. For him, clearly he needs to go on loan. For me, we do need squad depth. We need depth, and to be honest, if Wells does leave, that could open up football for him and Tyrese, because God forbid if Aubameyang and Lacazette get injured, you're at a push here kind of people. But yeah, Eddie needs to go and play football. For me, he needs to go and play somewhere week in, week out. I want to keep him at the club, especially if Wells leaves and for depth purposes and things like that. But he needs to play football. He needs to really train with a first team week in, week out, whether it's on loan, ideally in the Premier League, not fan of the Championship, or go to Germany like his friend Reece Nelson and Sancho and that, play week in, week out. Because the under-23 thing, he scores goals with his eyes closed, people. We all saw the great brace he scored against Norwich. We all saw the game against Blackpool. He needs to adapt. He needs to be given chances, to be fair. Obviously, you've got Tyrese as well, probably behind him again. If Eddie, which I think Eddie will go out on loan, Wells probably departs the club, although Unai said there's a chance he'll stay. That would mean immediately Tyrese John-Jules is boosted into third place. He's done all right for the 23s, and he'd probably have to alternate between travelling with the Arsenal first team. He's got a good friendship with Lacazette allegedly now. Travelling with them and probably playing the bulk of his football at 23s level. There's been interest allegedly from a lot of clubs for Tyrese on loan. If I was him, I'd want to play men's football as quickly as possible, but probably afford it to stay another year. Play under Unai Emery, train under Unai Emery. That was a mad sound there. Stay close to Lacazette and things like that. Opportunities could present itself. Like I said at the start of this, I'll be surprised if Tyrese in the next couple of months, whether his agent or his advisors or whatever, if they haven't been in contact with Arsenal or Arsenal haven't contacted them about a new deal, because he's been on the bench for the Europa League. I would love him to have made his debut. Fingers crossed him and Amici and their man there get minutes. I'm in the first team at some capacity from now to the end of the season, but bench for the Europa League campaign, doing his thing at 23 level, still eligible for under 18s as well for this season at least. Obviously scored in the chance he was given against that side in Dubai. That Dubai side, El Nazir or whatever, not the most competitive of sides, but you can only do what you can do in the chances you're given. So yeah, man. There's also the under-21s championship as well. Eddie probably goes to that. He'll probably be given an extended period off, or he might come back early. To which Tyrese would obviously, when these lot come back from pre-season or whatever. Again, I'm not sure of the logistics or the schedule, but Tyrese would be involved. I'm pretty sure Tyrese would be involved in pre-season. So there's minutes to be had. And out of all of them, it's Balogun as well that might suffer the most at 23's level. Balogun can play. In fact, you can play all three of them. But if you can imagine Eddie and Tyrese are kept, if no one goes on loan and they're all kept, all of them can play out wide and do things for the team. But Balogun probably the one that doesn't get as much minutes because of where he's at in terms of he's stepping into the under-23s. Of course, I want him to play minutes. Of course, this is just what I'm saying at this moment in time. If he's the most consistent on the pitch, he'll start every game. But I can't imagine all three will be at this club in terms of... I'd be surprised if one doesn't depart on a temporary basis for a period of time. At least come, is it September the 1st now? In September the 1st, deadline day in the summer. But it's a good conundrum to have. I think it's tough to say whether all of them, if any, are going to have chances to make it or can make it at this club. But I back all of them. All of them got the ability to be given the opportunity to cut their teeth and make it at this club. I think all of them will be given a good go of things, regardless of whether it's at my club or elsewhere. I want them all to go and have top careers and accomplish things because I believe they all got the ability to do it. We know the dynamic of supporting, or even in these lots' cases, playing for a top 6 club, the dynamics of needing to consistently compete. People want you to sign all of these world-class players, but they also want you to bring through 8 to 11 young players season in, season out, and it's just not possible. So we'll see how it goes, man. But I think it's an interesting conundrum to be judging. I mean, to see how the club juggle all of them getting minutes or tailor their development, man, because I feel Eddie's the one that needs to go on loan. To be honest with you, John-Jules, we need him at 23's level because who's going to score the goals. But for him, if he does similar to Eddie Nketiah, which he's showing promise with in terms of scoring goals week in, week out, it's not going to teach him anything. And if I'm honest, under 23's football isn't going to teach any of these lot anything, to be fair. It's just the fact that they can play against people slightly older than them, more physical than them, so they have to think a bit smarter. Because all of these lot, when they played at under 80s level, bullying teams and scoring goals week in, week out. Just look at Balogun, for example. But it'll be interesting to see how the club juggle. It'll be interesting to see how the club's thinking in regards to them three, because they're all promising strikers, all capped by youth international sides, all doing their thing, and all know how to score goals. And on top of that, they're all very cultured players. Like, I feel Tyrese is very good with his back to goal. I like when Tyrese is not exactly a 10, but when he drops deep and gets involved and kind of starts moves and stuff, I think he's decent in that. Eddie knows how to score goals, and I think his movement is very underrated. Balogun's got a lot of technical ability as well and is actually good with his back to goal. And I think I enjoy his link-up play. So I'm keen to see how all three develop just as footballers, to be honest, because I think they're all set for good careers. But on that note, people, I'm going to get out of here. People, deluded, comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish.